Alright, so in this video I will be showing you the method that I use for importing World of Warcraft models into Tabletop Simulator. You'll need three tools for this. You'll need the WoW model viewer, and in addition you'll need World of Warcraft installed on your computer for the model viewer to be able to load the files from the game. And the second one that you need will be GIMP image editor or Photoshop or something, and Blender 3D creation or any 3D modeling software. But these will be the ones that I'm using, and the download links will be available in the description of the video. So the first thing that we're going to do is open up WoW Model Viewer and load the World of Warcraft files. If this is your first time launching the application, then you'll have to confirm the path where you have the game installed. Next, you'll need to know what model you want to export from the game. So if it's a creature model, you can just search by name, and well, some of these models aren't named as you would expect them to be. For example, if you are looking for a Dragonid model, just a normal Dragonid, not one of these armored ones, it would be called Dragon Foot Soldier, if I remember. Yeah, so there's some guessing work involved when you're searching for a specific model. If you have any suggestions on how to find these model names easier, then please write in the comments section of the video. Some models have multiple choices for the skin, so you'll have to select the one that you're going to be using. Also, some models actually use multiple skin combinations. For example, this Doomguard has like a red skin and a blue skin, but you could have blue wings on a red one. So you'll have to select them both. If you are creating a custom character, then you would clear the filter and select a character model from the menu. And you just make it look however you like, change the skin color and the hair and the equipment and such. It's very self-explanatory, all these menus and buttons. So here's the model that I'll be using for demonstration purposes. So once you have your model selected, you'll need to have a pose for it. So let's just select an animation here. Okay, and then gonna click the stop button and just use the frame slider to adjust the pose. Alright. Once you're happy with it, then you can go to File menu, Export Model, OBJ file. You're gonna want to use some sort of naming policy here. I usually make a folder for each model and name them accordingly, and then name my file original.obj. So here are the criteria for the models to be put into Tabletop Simulator. The maximum file size is about 2.5 megabytes, and it will only accept one skin file. So let's check some of these models from the model viewer. Here I have this fire elemental model, and you can see there's only one skin file and one object file, which is 200 kilobytes, so this would be good to go on its own into Tabletop Simulator. So let's just see what that would look like. And here is how it would look in game. Okay, but let's check some of the other ones. So what about the Shah model that I just exported from the model viewer? It has 3 skin files, so that's not good. Tabletop will accept only 1. And the object size is almost 4 megabytes. So let's see what happens if we try to put that into the game. Alright, so here I have my Shah model, trying to put it in. Error loading model, so it's too big for the game. But we can fix this so that they will work in Tabletop Simulator. And the next step would be combining all of these skin files into one image. So we're going to open up GIMP image editor, and I'm going to select the biggest image file here at 480 kilobytes and just throw it into GIMP. Now, depending on the number of skin files that your object model has, you may want to do this part one of 2 ways. So let's check the first one here. So here's the first method. I have this Ragnaros skin, and then Ragnaros has the hammer as a separate skin. So I have one pretty big image and one smaller one. And it looks like this hammer is about quarter the height of the other one. So what I'm going to do is just scale down the big picture here. Going to right click the layer, scale layer, and in percentage, and I'm only going to scale the height, so I have to uncheck this chain here, right? And then I'm going to use the alignment tool, going to click the big picture and put it on the top, and gonna click the smaller one on the bottom right with these alignment buttons. So that's how you would go about if you only have one big image and maybe 1 or 2 smaller ones. Going back to the Shah, this is the second method for combining the skins, is when you have multiple big skins of similar size. Here, for example, these 2 are the same size, so what I would do instead is to make the whole image bigger. So I'm going to go to Image menu, Canvas, and you're always going to want to have square images with the dimensions as powers of 2. So 1024, 1024. And that is because it's best to have square images and powers of 2 for video games. Gonna resize, and again going to use this alignment tool. Gonna put one on the top right and the second one top left, and then I had a third one here which was a smaller one, and I'm going to put it on the bottom left. But let's say I had more skins here. For example, let's say I had 3 smaller ones here. Now I could align the 2 to the corners, no problem, but where am I going to put the third one? Then here I could use a guide, so I'm going to go to Image menu, New Guide by percent, going to make a vertical guide, and another guide, going to make it horizontal. So now when I use the Move tool, it will automatically snap into these guides, and I can even snap it in the middle and use the alignment tool to align it to the edge here. So they are all squared up with pixel accuracy. So now I'm ready with my combined skin. Going to go into File menu, Export As, and I'm going to name it something like Combined Skin or whatever. Okay. Another thing you can do with GIMP is going back to this fire elemental model here. Let's say I want it to be a different color, like if I wanted to make a bubblegum monster or something. I could go to Color menu, Hue and Saturation, and when you just play with these sliders a bit, and you can find a balance that you represents what you're looking for. So there's my bubblegum skin. And here's how the bubblegum elemental looks next to the original one. Right, so now we have the combined skin, and the next thing we need to do is tell this model to use the combined skin instead of these three different files. So we're gonna open up Blender. So here's Blender. You can use the middle mouse button to look around and right click to select objects. So we're gonna delete this cube, just hit delete button and enter, and I'm gonna delete the camera as well, as we're not rendering anything, you don't need it. Then gonna right click right click this lamp here, and here's the lamp tab thing, and I'm gonna make this lamp a hemi lamp. Then from the top view I'm gonna use the R key to rotate it facing the center, and another view facing the center. Then I'm gonna hit A to select nothing, and I'm going to add another lamp, and this one's gonna be a spot lamp. Okay, I'm gonna grab the blue arrow and just move it down. Then I need to rotate it facing upwards, so I'm gonna press R again, but this time I'm gonna press X to rotate on the X-axis, and then typing in 180 will rotate it 180 degrees. So here we're just setting up Blender so it's easier for you to work in the future. So next thing you want to do is duplicate this view by pulling from this corner here. And obviously we don't need two of the same views, so this one is going to be a UV image editor, right? That's going to have your skin files and stuff. Then we need to duplicate this view here, pulling from the corner, and this one is going to be a texture tab. Alright, now you can save this scene to use as a template later on. File, save at here. Mine is just called blank.blend. Alright. And by the way, due to the multifunctionality of the keybinds in this program, your mouse pointer is the one that decides where the commands go. So with the mouse pointer in the 3D view, I'm gonna hit A to select nothing, and now I'm ready to bring in my model. So I'm gonna go to File, Import, Wavefront Object. Okay. Now it looks a bit boring, all grey and stuff, but we can change that from the display method here to change it to texture. Also, this particular model is quite big, so I wouldn't want it to be this big in tabletop, so I'm gonna hit S to scale it down. I think that's okay. Now you have all these different items in your scene, and you notice in the texture tab here that some of them actually use the same skin file. So we're going to want to combine these, and to do that, let's see here, these two use the same skin, so I'm going to select one of them, right click the other to select, and with my mouse pointer in the 3D view I'm going to hit Ctrl J to join them. And you want to do that for any one of them that are using the same skin file. Let's see, these four use the same, so I can actually select multiple ones. With the bottom one selected, I'm going to select this one, and this one. And again, pointer here, Ctrl J. And so now I only have 3 items, and let's see, the number of items matches the number of original skin files here, so that's good. So now we need to tell the model to use the combined skin file, and we do that like so. I'm just going to select the top item here and put my pointer to the 3D view and hit tab to go into edit mode, and I'm going to hit A twice to make sure everything's selected. And here in the UV editor you can see it has opened up the old skin file, and we don't want that, we want the new skin. So I'm going to take the new combined skin file and just drag and drop it into the UV editor. So here it is. With my pointer in the UV editor, I hit A to select everything, and then I need to scale it down and move it to the location where it should be in the new picture. So I'm going to hit S to scale and type 0.5 for 50%. Then I'm going to move it with the G button, and Y for Y-axis, maybe 256, yep. Just trying with powers of 2 will get you pretty close to where it should be. Gonna try again, G, and this time on the X-axis, moving it horizontally, and minus 256. Then I'm gonna zoom in. Again, you can move around in this view with the middle mouse button. I'm just gonna check the edges so that everything matches up. If it wouldn't, let's say it was off like this, then I would just press G and X to move it by freehand to where it's supposed to be. But this one looks okay. And we're going to want to do that with all of the items in your scene here. Again, get my combined skin, gonna scale it 50%, then move it with G and Y. 256 worked. I could also do GX 228, it didn't quite work enough, so 228 again, that's good. Everything seems to match up. Third one, last one. Now here you see the UV maps, as these are called. They kind of they go outside the picture, and we don't really want that, so I'm gonna hit A to select nothing. Then with B I can square select this one. Then I'm just gonna do by freehand using G. Gonna move it in the middle, S to scale, G again, okay, and hit A twice to select everything, scale them down and move them. Doesn't make much difference this change to the UV map, because it's just this ambiguous texture. If you had something with clothes or I don't know, with faces or other textures like that, then you would not want to do this. For that you would have to maybe bake the skin into a new file and then you use that in your combined skin, but I'm not gonna go into that. That's a very rare technique that you would have to use here. May be making a video on that later. But now again, combined skin, scaling it down. This time I'm gonna scale it down to a quarter, so 0.25, and I don't really mind, gonna move it freehand with the G button and left mouse click to accept. Alright, now everything's UV mapped correctly. Now we can join all of these different items into one item. So with my pointer in the 3D view, I'm gonna hit A twice to select everything and Control J. So now everything is in one model, and you can see it in the UV editor as well. Okay, so at this point, if your file size was too big, like mine is here, it's about 4 megabytes, and I'm gonna show you why that is. It's because of the way that WoW Model Viewer gives you the object file. So I'm gonna select one triangle here and just pull it away, and you can see the vertices on the triangle, they're not connected to the other triangles. So what that means is there are about 6 times as many vertices here than what we really need. But we can fix this. We can remove the extra vertices, and how you do this is by clicking the item or the model here, and with the pointer in the 3D view, hit tab, gonna hit A twice to select everything, W, and remove doubles. So here it says remove 32,000 vertices. I'm gonna show you again what it did. Gonna select this triangle and I'm gonna pull it away. Now everything's connected and there are much fewer points in this 3D space, and well, the file size is reduced significantly. So now that that's done, so now we can continue with the skins and the model here. If you look here in the materials tab, you can see all these useless materials that the model used to use. So we're going to go into object mode with the pointer in the 3D view, and I'm going to hit tab to go into object mode, and I'm going to delete all of these useless materials. I'm going to add a new material, hit the plus sign, new, and I'm going to go back into edit mode, make sure everything's selected, and hit assign. Okay. Next, we're going to need a texture for the material. So in the texture tab, new texture, and I'm going to put the UV map here, which is this one here, is the UV map. Then I'm going to open the combined skin file here. Okay, next we'll need to add some transparency, because I mean, you can see there are some parts here that are supposed to be transparent. So transparency in this materials tab here, going to put alpha to 0 and specular to 0, and then in the texture tab you need to check alpha. Okay. Now this is pretty much as it looks in the game. You can still check in the method of displaying here, going into material. Now this is about as it will appear in the game. Okay, so now your model is pretty much ready. So now your model is ready to be put into tabletop. So what you're going to go into File menu, Export, Wavefront Object, and I'm going to name it something like Test 1. Okay, so that's Blender. So next up, you'll need some way of putting your models into Tabletop Simulator. You could open them up locally from your computer, but then they would not appear in multiplayer. There's this new feature, however, in Tabletop Simulator with the Steam Cloud, where you could open them locally from your computer and it would automatically upload it to Steam Cloud and paste the link for you. However, if you're dealing with lots of different models, then this may not be the quickest way of doing it. Another way, which is even slower, but some still use this, is to use these services called Pastebin and Imager. They are public, you don't have to register for them or anything. You just put the files in there and copy the links into Tabletop Simulator. The third method that I use personally is to have Dropbox installed on your computer, and I can actually show you how it works here. So here are my local files and here's my Dropbox. You're gonna want to put your files in the public folder and then create a directory structure of your preference, and what I'm gonna do is just, or what I've already done here is I've just copy pasted everything into the Dropbox. Okay? Then when you have Dropbox here, only thing that you have to do is to right click any item and copy public link. Right? I'm gonna go into Tabletop Simulator here. So here I am in Tabletop Simulator. I'm just gonna copy this guy, and I've copied this test object, or the model of my Shaw actually, and I pasted it here. Then I'm gonna get my combined skin, copy public link, gonna put it here, import, and there's my model. Looks a bit bad, but I'm gonna change the material to cardboard, and it looks slightly better now. And I should mention about the Steam Cloud. This is where you would do it. You would just hit the folder button and open your file, and then it will ask if you want to upload to Steam Cloud, and you just click yes, and that's it pretty much. Going back to the Ragnar's model, where we used a different method of combining the skins. Okay, so here's Ragnar's, here's the skin. And if you remember, we scaled the height of the image by 75%, so I'm gonna do that again. S for scale, Y for vertical, and 0.75. Then I have to move it up a bit. G, Y, 64, yep. And the weapon. Now this one, it was a rectangle, but now it's all distorted, so I have to fix that. S, Y, 0.5, S, 0.5 again. And I'm just gonna move it in place by hand. Alright, and this part seems to be sticking out a little, so I'm gonna hit A to select nothing, B for box select or square select, and then G, X, just moving it in with the rest of the things. So that's that. Some models have very strange UV mappings. This dark portal, for example, if you look at this, there's no way you would be able to use a combined skin here properly, so what I did was, here's my combined skin. I've duplicated this skin a few times, then I would just scale it and move it into place. Right, I think that looks okay, right? And something like this, where the UV mapping goes outside of the picture, again, when it's this ambiguous texture that doesn't really have much detail, I can just use the square select and GX move it into the picture so that it doesn't interfere with the rest of the combined skins. Like so. And now I could use the combined skin here. Like just normally. It would go somewhere around here. Don't really want to finish this anymore. Now, I'm no pro with Blender. There are lots of things that I cannot do with these models, and yeah, I do my best to figure them out, but some things I just cannot do. Like, let's see this chest, for example. I have no idea how this UV map produces this texture. If I go to materials view, you can see how it would look in Tabletop Simulator. Similarly, these pieces here, I have no idea what this is, but if you want to learn more about Blender, I recommend you check out Darren Lyle's videos. He has a great series on Blender character creation, and this is pretty much where I learned most of what I know about how to use Blender. So check it out. I will have the link in the description. But thanks for watching. This has been World of Warcraft models for Tabletop Simulator. Check out my workshop page with all of my models and some additional workshop items as well. I will have the link in the description. There may be a part 2 video on how to use custom models and more things to do with Blender, for example the texture baking that I mentioned, and I may also be answering some of your questions. So stay tuned for that then.